So I'm not really sure how to introduce this video and whatnot, but yeah. Basically, 2020 NASCAR season, a little fictional thing in NR, and the whole entire, I guess, situation is that 2019 is a boom year for NASCAR and massive rate increases, more money funding into the sport, and whatnot. And everything's at an not an all-time high, but it's a big improvement over the past few, actually, I'd say the best decade? Yeah, I'll say that. So yeah, this is and everything's changed. Now, all this stuff was made before the new 2020 schedule, so that's different, and I'll go into more, differences, obviously, in this, because that's the whole entire point. Alright, so, first off, let's go through the lineup of drivers that will be competing in this fictional event. And the number one car, we have rookie John Hunter Nemechek. After doing decent in the 2019 Xfinity Series, he may be scoring a win or two. He'll be moved up into the one car as Chip Ganassi expands their field to 4 cars. And the 2 is Brad Keselowski. He has not changed, but if you look up there, he is the 2019 champion. Now, it's obviously probably mostly going to be between Kyle and Brad, but I just picked Brad because why not? And this is obviously we have new paint schemes. I mean, this isn't really that different, but this is based off his Alliance truck parts from 2015, so it's actually quite spicy. But moving on. Austin Dillon with a new look on the 3. Basically, you know what? Let's make it look like the old 3. But he's staying at RCR as they expand as well. He's still headlining it in the Legendary 3. Kevin Harvick, for his last year at Stewart-Haas Racing, he'll be retiring at the end of the season. He's the one-time deal. And using his Mobile 1, doing a slight mix, going back to one of his old Good Wrench cars, slightly inspired by that. Paul Menard moves over to a newly opened Junior Motorsports in the 5 car. Chris Buescher brought back into Roush when they buy out Front Row Motorsports and Go Fast Racing and expand. And Fenway now buys out Roush, or doesn't buy out Roush, but now fully absorbs Roush, renaming it to just Roush Racing and expanding the team as well. Jeffery Earnhardt is brought up with the newly formed Junior Motorsports, and he's the first Earnhardt in the Cup Series since 2017. He'll be sporting the 7 car in the Cup Series, along with Hooters on the side. Chase Elliott being moved over as the headliner for Junior Motorsports. He's also the 2019 winner of the Coke 600, winning one of the bigger races that year. Aric Almirola returns to Stewart-Haas in the 10 car. He made the championship 4 in the 2019. Martin Truex Jr. moves over to the 11 car, and this is just a prototype scheme. It's not going to be his permanent one. Trying to get that fixed out. But he's the 2017 champion, going and see if he can win another one in 2020. The 11 car. Joey Logano is moved over into the 12 to make room at Team Penske, as RCR fully buys out Germain Family Racing because NASCAR removed the car limit for teams. And also, I didn't realize before, but Ty Dillon's an ARCA champion, so that's fun. Clint Bowyer stays in the 14, now sporting a combined scheme to look like Penske's old Mobile 1 cars, and also kind of like a Bill Davis racing car. But yeah, he's still in the 14, one of the stronger powers at Stewart-Haas. Trevor Bayne returns for a one-time deal, and then he's officially retiring from NASCAR. He's in the 16 with Africa on the hood under performance contract, so he might even leave the season early. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the head honcho over at Roush Fenway Racing, sporting a slightly modified third bank scheme. Kyle Busch, nothing really changed here except for the associate sponsors on the M&M's Camry. Erik Jones moves over to the 19 to make room, but nothing different here. Christopher Bell moving up to the Cup Series in the 20, which is why Erik Jones moved over to the 19. And also, I'll explain, Denny Hamlin pulled Carl to Edwards and now has really disappeared in the sport, not series. And he went poof. But don't be surprised if he makes a mid-season little pop. Also, I have Christopher Bell winning the 2019 Xfinity Series Championship. Ryan Blaney sporting the newly acquired Penske 21 after a deal between Woodbars and Penske to absorb the two teams together, still being the same crew that worked on the 21 that was so strong with Ryan Blaney through his rookie season and the years following that. But with discount tire on the hood and nothing really else different besides the font, but it's could be looking like championship winning season for Ryan Blaney. Austin Cindric moves up to the Cup Series in the 22 money line scheme. Completed Team Penske lineup. Noah Gragson forced up into the Cup Series after having the split between Hendrick and Junior Motorsports. He's up in the 24 to replace the spot of William Byron, but he's still at Hendrick. Basically, Hendrick needed to cover a lot of cars really quick, so they did just that. And he wins the 2019 Xfinity Rookie of the Year, so only being in Truck for 2, Xfinity for 1, and then he's going to be in his first season for Cup. Not a lot of experience on 24, but maybe that won't affect the team that much. Ryan Preece moved over from JT Daugherty Racing into the 25 after his overperformance for that team. Rick Hendrick taking advantage of this. Also, he won in my imaginative universe. He wins the 2018 Rookie of the Year. Casey Mears is brought back on a performance-based deal with RCR in the 27 car. Daniel Hemrick moves over to the newly reopened 29 car for Richard Childress Racing. Tyler Reddick brought from the Xfinity Series after staying in there for 2 years, and of course having that championship. He is in the return 31 car. Ross Chastain is brought up from the Xfinity Series. Finally a good ride. He did get enough sponsorship to be able to work out a deal in the newly expanded Chip Ganassi Racing. Kurt Busch is in his last year in Cup, at least working for other drivers besides his own team. But they were going to originally boot him out of the one, which, I mean, they still did after the end of 2019. But with the John Hunter Nemechek coming up and Ross Chastain, even though Ross Chastain does run full schedule multiple times, first time being competitive, they want to keep Kurt Busch around for a little veteran presence on their team. And last Chip Ganassi car, we have Kyle Larson with a more simplified target scheme after he returned back to the sport with his newly provided popularity. Chase Briscoe moved up into the 43, looking to bring that team back up to competition. They've also moved back over the Ford with a connection to Stuart Haas. William Byron moving over to the 48 car after retirement of Jimmy Johnson, leaving his contract a year early. Not based on performance, but just that Jimmy didn't want to end up suffering in the sport. He was still competitive, as we can still tell, but didn't want to go out on a low note like he was for the end of 2017 and the whole entire 2018 season. Newly opened team, along with Junior Motorsports, is Kyle Busch Motorsports expanding into the Cup Series with 2 cars, the 48 of Brandon Jones on a performance-based contract, and the 56 of Ryan Truex, based on both of them based on performance-based contracts. Ty Majeski is finally brought into the Cup Series after not racing full-time in years, and his whole Xfinity career was part-time due to his age at the time. But now, at the ripe age of 24, he is full-time in the 60 car. JT Daugherty with a new set of numbers and new drivers. Matt Benedetto now behind the wheel of the 83 Kroger car. Alex Bowman still at the 88 with a new nationwide scheme, more closely recognizable to Stenhouse's nationwide card that he had for a while. Justin Allgaier moves up to the Cup Series and is hoping to stay here in the 93 for JT Jolly Racing. Darrell Wallace Jr. has been moved into the 98 for Petty Enterprises. Has taken a lot of sponsorship from the Wood Brothers, with the connection to Ryan Blaney moving into that 21 car. And finally, we have David Ragan back at Roush in the 99 with NOS on the hood, thanks to good old Ricky Stenhouse. And, Cole Custer in the 00. That's the 4th Stewart Haas car. As you see, they don't have 41 this year. But he's looking to be a really good competitor in the Rookie of the Year. And Daniel Suarez back over at an line between College Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing for the 02. Now, obviously, there have been some drivers that have been left out here. Most notably, I spoke about it a little bit. Jimmy Johnson, he retires at the end of 2019. I'm wanting to end on a more of a high note than a low note, like ending at 2018. And Michael McDowell, no longer in the series. He's moving down to the hypothetical Xfinity series to run for Penske. And let's see, who else is in noble mention? Corey LaJoie just leaves the sport entirely after not being performed well. Denny Hamlin gets booted out of his sponsorship for FedEx, suddenly leaving. Still an associate sponsor on the 18. But just underwhelmed with his performance, as he's not really to do much besides get a few wins, which is still good, but then just doesn't do much for the rest of the series. Like I said, be expected for him to possibly make another start or two. Now with that, we're moving on to the 2019 fictional results, as I use Google Doc. But most of these are accurate. This was last edited 12 days ago, so that's why Texas isn't incorrect. There we go. Daytona Denny Hamlin, Atlanta Brad Keselowski, Vegas Joey Logano, ISM Kyle Busch, Auto Club Kyle Busch, Martinsville Brad Keselowski. I predicted that too. Texas Kyle Busch, Bristol Kurt Busch, Richmond Brad Keselowski, Dega Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Chase Elliott wins Dover, Martin Truex Jr. wins Kansas, Chase Elliott Charlotte, Ryan Blaney at Pocono, Kyle Larson in Michigan, Sonoma won by Clint Bowyer, Chicago Lane Kyle Busch, Daytona won by Ryan Newman, as he gave Roush a little bit more. Oh yeah, Ryan Newman's just retired. Ryan Newman giving a boost to Roush, winning 2 of the play tracks. Kentucky, Brad Keselowski, New Hampshire, Kyle Busch, Pocono, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski wins at the Glen, Kyle Larson, Michigan, Bristol swept by Kurt Busch, Darlington, Brad Keselowski, and Indies won by Kyle Busch. And this is what it's looking like going to the round of 16. Brad was 6, Kyle was 6, Chase 2, Kurt 3, Larson 2, Bowyer 1, Truex 1, Paul Menard, Ryan Newman, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Kevin Harvick, Aric Almirola, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Erik Jones. And the round of 16, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, and Brad Keselowski. Round 12, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Aric Almirola, Kurt Busch, Clint Bowyer, Kyle Larson, Stenhouse, Chase Elliott, and Ryan Blaney. Of course, winning Dover, Chase Elliott, Dega, Kurt Busch, Kansas, Martin Truex Jr. They advanced to the round of 8, being Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, Clint Bowyer, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Aric Almirola, Joey Logano, and Kurt Busch. Round of 8, Brad Keselowski, Martinsville, Kyle Busch, Texas, ISM won by Aric Almirola, and Brad wins the championship. And this is the lineup for the season. This is 32 race season, still with round 16, round 12, round of 8. So we're starting at Sonoma Auto Club, Las Vegas, ISM, Texas, Daytona. This is the 500 race. Atlanta, Darlington, Dega, Martinsville, Charlotte, Richmond, Dover, Bristol, a little bit of short track swing, Michigan, Kansas, Glen, Chicagoland, Pocono, Kentucky, Iowa. And this is still open to change. It's most likely going to be Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, but it could switch to Mid-Ohio, Nashville, something along the lines of that. And then round 16 is Martinsville, Kentucky Night, and the Roval. Round of 12 is Bristol, Texas, and Daytona Night. Richmond is Richmond, Homestead, and ISM. Final race is Nashville since the NASCAR awards are being held there. So should the final race. At least that's what I thought. This is also if Nashville gets remodeled and whatnot. So on lines of that. And then how are points going to work throughout this fictional season? Well, I'll tell you. We got 40 drivers in the field, and points are being awarded similar to the 2014 point system. 40 points for winning, 35, and so on and so forth. 35, 34, 30, and so on. You get points for leading laps instead of stages, since NR doesn't have stages. And they're going to go on like that. And then we get to the rounds over here. Round of 16, they're going to be boosted up to 1,000 points. No playoff points anymore. And same thing, boosting up to 2,000 here, boosting up to 3,000, then 4,000 heading to the final race. And you don't have to win the race to be the champion. You have to have a higher point score at the end. And if it comes to a tie, it's going to be either another race or whoever has the most wins. It's more likely just going to be whoever has the most wins, but there might be another race depending if it's a tie. And of course, it'd be a single two-car race, which I think that would be very interesting if we get into such a situation. But there you go. That's the setup for the 2020 fictional series. First race is Sonoma, and I will try to have that out shortly. So thank you for watching and showing somewhat interest in this. And if you want to definitely watch the series, subscribe so you get notifications and whatnot. And see y'all then.